Secretary Clinton, thank you for talking power today.
I'm delighted to talk with you, Claire.
One of the primary tenets of our book and our research is that men and women, we found, essentially think about, define, even use power really differently. For men, there's much more of a focus on hierarchy, ego. And for women, there's an implicit why in power. What is this for? It's interesting. We've even found female academics, women academics, as they're studying power, are broadening the definition. And what it's led us to conclude, I guess, is that we don't need to remake women. We need to remake power. And
Mhm.
I wonder about your observations as somebody who's executed it, used it around the world, observed it. What do you see in terms of the way power looks different for men and women?
Well, I think that one of the great contributions that your book makes is that it puts all in one place, the kind of academic research that you just referred to that is finding exactly what you described, Claire, that there is a difference in the understanding of power and the way that men and women react to it, and whether or not it is comfortable to be exercising it. And I found all of that in, the many experiences that I've had over a lot of years. But I also found, as you point out in the book, there is joy in the exercise of power if you feel like you're doing it for somebody else, if you feel like you're solving a problem, knocking down an obstacle, clearing the way for other people, particularly people who may need a bit of a helping hand, really find better ways to pursue their own dreams, live their own lives. And I found the book, especially the way that you integrate all of the academic research, to be right on point in my own experience.
That's exciting. Thank you. We were struck by, this was a feeling a lot of women have said, wow, I felt this my whole career and I didn't understand it. But this sort of aversion to power that, that this Harvard study really pulled out, that women have such a broader set of life goals often. And many, we value not just work or power, but time in the community, time with family, just many other things. And it leads many of us often to feel that's in direct competition with today's power.
Well, it's interesting that there now seems to be a lot more avenues for the pursuit of power if you really look at it from the point of view of influence and effectiveness. You could argue, I suppose, that a lot of women who are not comfortable in the traditional institutional definition of power, the kind of hierarchy that you describe in the book, are finding influence, and through it some amount of power in the not-for-profit world, in the social media world, where they do use their influence to try to bring about, results on behalf of others, not just themselves. So I do think that there is a kind of subtle redefinition of power happening right now without it being some kind of mission for everyone. But I also think, and I believe you make this clear in the book, that the traditional systems, the hierarchies, the institutions, still hold the vast majority of power, and it's power over people, it's power to make people, do things, require people to do things. And that is an important element of power. I don't want to be naive about that. But I think that you really are positing that there are two missions here. One, more women in power in a traditional way that helps to change those institutions and perhaps broaden their understanding of what power is or should be. And then new forms of power and the exercise of it by a new generation of young people, hopefully a lot of women, who have decided that there are ways to make a difference that are open to them, that they can avoid the traditional pathways.
How urgent do you think it is to have more women leaders? And especially thinking about today, what we're witnessing in the political world with sort of ego power versus maybe a values power.
Well, I think it's critically important, and have spent a lot of my life encouraging women to pursue positions that would give them power, because I wrote an article in the Atlantic a year or so ago saying that, you know, when I talked about women's rights or human rights back in 1995 in my speech in Beijing, we've made progress on the rights framework, but rights are nothing if you don't have the power to enforce them and to seize them for yourself and others. So I think it's critically important, but I do want to say that there is a new kind of a new breed of women in power who are perfectly comfortable with the existing hierarchy, and in fact see it as part of their power base to prop it up, to promote it, to be on its side, to make sure that they're defenders of the status quo, or even turning the clock back. So power for the sake of power, whether it's for ego or it's for results, for effect, for influence, for, you know, change, making a difference. I think we're in the midst of quite a challenging transition. And I think your book really does help people to understand where we are right now, why we ended up here. And as you point out, something I didn't know, because a lot of your examples come from the business world, you know, that the more job authority women have, the more they experience symptoms of depression. And that, you know, you would think is counterintuitive. Like, you're rising, you're having more influence, right, more authority. That's what you've been working for. But indeed, the stresses and strains, the ego demands, if you will, of the existing power structure are felt, I do think, more personally by women. And it's why a lot of women, you know, have left corporate jobs, started their own businesses, went into, you know, the NGO world, or chose other ways to, you know, fulfill themselves.
I appreciate your time. I know you have a busy schedule, and we're so grateful you read the book. It means a lot to us. So thank you, Secretary Clinton.
Well, thanks for writing it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.